Hi everybody. A day before Easter, I thought I meditate with you and share with you my thoughts about betwixt and between. A strange combination of words. You can probably get the subtitle. Would I and my word be different after that? After experience of coronavirus, the same way as after experience of any kind of shaking experience. That could be divorce, that could be losing the loved ones, and there will be a lot of that. That could be, losing a friendship or losing a job. But this time we are wondering and pondering about these times where we are asked, instructed to behave in a way which is maybe difficult for some of us. So let me just read you something. And this quote is coming from an American Apache gentleman, a story. And now I need the glasses, as you know. Would you like to have some medicine power? Frog asked. Medicine power? Me? Asked Little Mouse. Yes, if it's possible. Then crouch as low as you can and then jump as high as you are able. You will have your medicine, Frog said. Little Mouse did as he was instructed. He crouched as low as he could and jumped. And when he did, his eyes saw the sacred mountains. Little Mouse could hardly believe his eyes, but there they were. But then he felt back to earth, and he landed in the river. Little Mouse became frightened and scrambled back to the bank. He was wet and frightened nearly to death. You have tricked me, Little Mouse, screamed at the frog. Wait, said the frog, you are not harmed. Do not let your fear and anger blind you. What did you see? Mouse stammered, I saw the sacred mountains. And you have a new name, Frog said. It's Jumping Mouse. So a lovely little tale. And I think that in this kind of stories and experiences of our life, sometimes we have to be prepared to become a jumping mouse. For us, to be involved and invited in this kind of time where we are put to tasks to behave maybe different, it might need that kind of act of faith. What it means to be betwixt and between, it means to leave that what we know and hang in the air. And we don't necessarily know what we will find on the other side. We never know. But can we really not jump? If we don't jump, we will stagnate or we'll just repeat the patterns. If we do, we have to conquer the fear. And so that's where the faith comes into it. That's where we are, in a way, growing our wings, one could say. That's where we have to be embraced by grace. Anyhow, so we have to be prepared to move towards unknown. And in a sense, when restrictions are coming now and we are told not to go here and not to go there, and we have to face frustration, we have to face anger, we have to face an unknown, in a sense that we are so used to, as a creatures of habits, to say, but I always did visit my granny, or but I never, ever, ever not go to the pub. And you see, when we use those two words, always or never, that means we are stuck. We are creatures of habits. And as you know, old habits die hard. And here we are literally forced to break those habits. I mean, if we can. But can we actually break them? would we be in a position to break? So we have to kind of, by breaking those habits, embrace a bit of a chaos. And chaos is something which we are not very good at embracing. And yet if you listen to quantum physicists on theory of chaos, they will tell us that chaos is precisely what it is in universe. And we have to kind of accept that chaos is part of living, if altogether not a living. So basically we have to attend to chaos. And we must attend to our chaos externally and internally. I always talked as a Jungian analyst about a feminine versus masculine energy. And it feels to me that the feminine in our psyche, in our soul, is about organizing that chaos, putting our hands into the dirty water, so to speak, into a dirt. And it's not only externally, because I'm sure every one of us already cleaned our cupboards and painted the fence and tables and oiled what it needs oil and washed the cars and exercised. And we externally probably do a lot of organizing of this chaos. However, I'm talking about the inner chaos, because this situation will provoke us and we will explode into that. And normally, you see, we have all sorts of escapes. And maybe, just maybe now it's time to approach it differently and see whether we can make a chaos part of our living, the same as dying as part of our living. Because you see, chaos cannot be organized altogether. Whereas we can clean the cupboards and paint the fence, and it will be painted for a year, chaos is a permanent situation. So we have to be willing to embrace it and be embraced by it. And that is the feminine energy which helps us. The same way as the embracing unknown is part of the faith. So see what we can do. Can we knock out? I can never do it. Can we not collapse? Would our world, inner world, be different after that? Because if we're not different, we're kind of stuck. And that means we may go to depression or pure undiluted anger or rebelliousness. And you can see it, when we are taught not to go here and there and everywhere, how many of us are still kind of rebelling and saying, well, I'm not here to be told what to do. So, interesting situation. How many of us could really say, have I changed for that? Was I willing to be embraced and embrace change? Because that is also very important to know. We can be kicked screaming into change. That usually happens with teenagers, you see. With teenagers, that's why another thing which comes to my mind, for instance, how little rituals we have to help, for instance, teenagers to become adults, or to help ourselves through those changes, through this initiation. In Zambia, for instance, in their society, little boys are taken to the elders, and they have to hunt and have to do the same things, and are not spared, whether they're chieftains' children or not chieftain children, the same as circumcision is not sparing any, kings in reality. There is that kind of concept where the kids and youngsters are trained by others into the position one for all and all for one. They are perfectly adapting to the life of men. Maybe in our society, that sort of camaraderie is possible in army or in Marines, where guys help one another. But the kind of helping as such myself out of chaos and my neighbor normally in life, it's probably not as common as we think. Although we see in TV lots of examples, but when I walk around, I can see precisely the opposite. I can see people, all locked up into themselves, doing whatever. Mostly interesting, fascinating to see how many youngsters are completely and utterly doing what they always do, and they will never do what they never do, i.e., embrace the chaos or changes. And that is exercising everywhere around in various form and shape. They're exercising. As much as moving and exercising is useful, I can sense the addiction. Drinking. I see already a few guys, a few ladies sitting in the benches with a bottle of wine while they do what they always do. Are they embracing changes? Are they embracing chaos? Obviously not, because that's the most kind of easiest thing to do is to have an instant gratification. And being in between times is nothing like instant gratification. That's the domain of children. Instant gratification is not useful in this time, because as a nation, globally, we have to prolong the gratification. Yeah, we are told that we were not knowing when are we going to go out and when are we going to go back to norm. And that is, you see, a test for us all. So if we are not that mature, we may not be able to prolong that waiting. That's where the anxiety will hit us, the rage will hit us, the depression will hit us, confusion, a sense of lostness, a sense of chaos. And what are we to do about this chaos? Well, we attend to it. As we attend to life, a life attends to us. We attend to chaos. We put our sleeves up and we attend to it. We live with it. Because that's the law of universe, law of life. And of course, if we have a bit more consciousness and a bit more willingness to address it, we'll be fine. And one thing which will not happen is that whereas we can achieve perfection or a bit of order externally, chaos is part of living. We are not here to just hope that we organize this chaos for one day and then we'll be fine. So if we are a bit ashamed or shame-based, or we're prone to perfectionism, we will be rattled by this concept, because we will not believe that we cannot organize this chaos. But we are not here to organize it. We are here to learn to deal with it and allow, in a sense, life penetrates us. Otherwise, if we don't do that, we will be going into overwhelm. If we don't go into a nice relationship of organizing chaos, we may have a pathological relationship to ourselves as much as to our rooms or our neighbors or our gardens. We can be neglectful not only of ourselves and our chaos, but also neglectful of our gardens, of our environment. And it means that we will not be accountable. So we move into uncountability. Uncountability is common, you see, common among bankers and politicians and con men and gangsters and people who really truly don't know how to live freely. Because to laugh means to responsibility. So real change means you wake up in the morning different to yesterday, as Master Eckhart will put it. If every morning you look at your face and recognize your face as familiar, you need to be worried, because that means you haven't lived well the previous day. So change as such, involving chaos, involving dealing with life, needs to be changed not only in our minds but in our hearts. It's in our spirit, because that creates rebirthing, and rebirthing without the spirit is not possible. So let me just read something from St. Matthew, which is a very nice praying adequate to this little talk. And going a little farther, he fell on his face and prayed, saying, My Father, if it be possible, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not as I will, but as you will. So basically, it's about surrender, even to chaos. Because otherwise, as Carl Jung put it, I'm not surprised that the world is full of dirty water. And when you look outside the window, it's a sea of unconscious and mud. That's not a miracle. But what is miracle is the fact that on this surface of this dirty water, a few stars are shining. So I hope that each of us will be able to belong to the latter. We will be joining the stars, and we will be shining, and I wish you all to do that. So let's say a serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Bye for now.